process of the home inspection is one of the most important pieces of the home buying process. In today's video, we are going to be exploring the ins and outs of home inspections so that you understand, as both a buyer and a seller, how a home inspection impacts the buying or the selling process. Home Inspections 101, let's get into it right now. Okay, the first question that we're going to jump into is, when does the home inspection occur? I got a call from somebody who was looking on an investment property. He's from New Jersey. He's calling about a property in Baltimore. And he was like, can we get a home inspection to make sure that X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, no. The home inspection doesn't happen until you get a home under contract, right? A seller is not just going to let you in their home and let an inspector through to go through it without a contract that has been signed by both the buyer and the seller. So it's really important to understand where in the process the home inspection occurs. First, you need to go touring with your realtor. You need to find a home that you love. You need to write a contract that is mutually accepted by the buyer and the seller, that both people have signed. Then, within that contract, there will be an addendum which outlines the timeline, the time frame that you have to conduct an inspection. That contingency period, in my experience, is anywhere from 7 to 10 days, sometimes shorter, sometimes longer, depending on how many inspections that you need. And during that contingency time frame, you are able to have your inspectors in, you're able to check everything out and get reports to determine how you want to proceed. Home inspections don't happen until you are under contract. Say it with me, under contract. You got it. The next question is, who selects the home inspector? So let's say you find the house that you love, you have an accepted contract that's been signed by both the buyer and the seller. Now what? How do you decide who is going to inspect your home? It's very important to know and understand it is always the buyer's choice to select your home inspector. It's your home, it's your money that's going to be going to this home inspector, so you choose the home inspector. Now, I have a lot of clients who it's either their first time, they've never done a home inspection before, they might be coming from another area, and so they're not familiar with local home inspectors. And so I have preferred home inspectors that I use that do an absolutely fantastic, thorough job. And so I make recommendations, but if you have someone that you prefer as a buyer, it is your choice and your choice only. The next question is, what home inspections should I get? What home inspections are recommended? The most popular, the one that everybody tends to know about, is the structural and mechanical inspection. And the structural and mechanical inspection is where the inspector goes in and does a thorough investigation of all of the systems in the house, everything from the roofing system to the heating and cooling systems, the electrical, the plumbing, making sure that the toilets are on tight. From top to bottom, they do a thorough investigation to make sure what's going on with the home. It's important to know home inspectors really only can see what they can see. They're not going inside of the walls. They're using visuals to know what's going on with the home. And so they don't see every single thing, but they are very attuned to knowing if there are issues going on with the home. And so the structural and mechanical inspection is the first inspection that you get. Along with the structural and mechanical inspection, there are supplemental inspections that I also recommend, because it's not only the structure, the mechanics, the exterior that need to be inspected to make sure that they are safe and in good working order, but there are other things. First and foremost is the sewer line. In Baltimore and in the surrounding Baltimore metro region, a lot of homes are old. They're old. And as part of these old houses, they have older plumbing systems. So cast iron is a plumbing component that was used a lot when these houses were first built. And over time, if you have a home that's 60, 70, 100 years old, these cast iron pipes age. And when they age, they corrode, they get buildup, roots can intrude into them, they could have blockages. And so one of the most expensive problems that you could have with your home is a problem with the sewer line. And not only is it an expensive problem to fix, it's also one that can cause really inconvenient and kind of gross complications with backups and problems with your basements and things like that, and we don't want that. So having a sewer line inspection where they literally send a camera into the sewer line to scope it to make sure that there are no breaks, no blockages, no root intrusion is really important, and one that I always recommend, especially to home buyers who are purchasing an older home in the Baltimore metro area, which is most of them. The next inspection that I typically recommend is a radon inspection. And a radon inspection is due to the fact that in this area, in some areas more than others, radon is prevalent, and that is a dangerous, colorless, tasteless, odorless gas that can sometimes accumulate, especially in basement areas. It's really important that we know if there's radon. It can be remediated, and it's not super expensive to fix, but it's something we need to know if it exists. And so a radon inspection is super important. For a radon inspection, the inspector simply puts a radon detector, a little device, in the basement for 2 days to test the air, radon levels in the air, and make sure that they are safe. And if values of radon are below a certain threshold, you're safe. If they're above a certain threshold, then it would fail the radon test, and we would have to figure out how to remediate it. And there are plenty of companies in the area who do this regularly, so it's no big deal. The next most important inspection that I recommend for my buyers to get is called a wood destroying insect inspection, a WDI for short. And termites are a pain, and they're not good, and they really can cause structural damage to your home if left unchecked. And so a wood destroying insect inspection is where we have a pest inspector come out, look at the structure to make sure that there's no sign, evidence of active termites or damage caused by termites that might be causing structural damage to the home. The next possible inspection that I want to talk about is a chimney inspection. Chimney inspections are important because many houses have chimneys, whether they have working fireplaces or not. And the chimney is an area in these homes where gases are vented out from, and so it's really important that chimneys, even if you're not planning to use the chimney, that they are in good working order, because we don't want to have gas leaking and things like that that could cause a dangerous situation in your home. Chimney inspections are particularly important if you are planning to use your fireplace, right? You want to make sure that the flue is working, that things are escaping, that there's a solid chimney liner. So all of these things are important if you're planning on sitting nice and cozy in front of the fire, and lots of these beautiful historic homes in this area have chimneys, and so chimney inspectors and chimney inspections are very popular in this area. The next inspection that I want to discuss is one that is asked about very often in this area, and that is lead inspections. If a house is built before 1978, sellers have to provide a disclosure about knowing about any lead paint hazards in the home, because prior to 1978, using lead paint in the home was very popular. Paint had lead in it. After 1978, they realized that having lead paint was problematic and caused health hazards, especially to children. And so that was phased out, and homes after 1978 don't have to have the same disclosure because lead paint was not as prevalent. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Baltimore has so many old homes, and so a lot of these old homes have lead paint used in them. And a lot of sellers do not know about any hazards that have happened from that lead paint, so usually the disclosures on lead paint don't really reveal much. So because of this, I hear from a lot of clients, should we get a lead inspection or not? And this is the advice that I usually say to them. You are always within your right to get a lead inspection if it's something that you feel strongly about, but normally what I recommend is that the home inspector that's doing your structural and mechanical inspection has enough training to let you know if they see something that is particularly problematic with lead paint going on in the house. For example, if there's a lot of chipping, peeling paint, a lot of corrosion problems with the paint that they see could be flaking off. This is particularly important if you have little ones who might be crawling or who who might be grabbing everything and then putting stuff in their hands. We do not want lead paint going into children because that can lead to developmental issues. And so that's usually what I recommend. If the inspector says that he thinks that there should be further testing, you should do that. However, most houses are going to have some small degree of lead paint that are not going to be super problematic, or they're going to have had lead paint in the past that since has been remediated, things like that. So again, it's your choice if you have a lead paint inspection, but a structural and mechanical inspector will definitely be able to kind of let you know if there are further concerns that need to be checked out and tested. The next inspections that I want to talk about are environmental inspections, which tend to be really important inspections for rural properties, particularly well and septic inspections. If you're purchasing something that is in a metro area, that's in a town or a city, you typically aren't going to have to worry about well inspections and septic inspections because of the fact that they are going to be on city water and city sewer. So all of that is kind of tied into the city system. However, in rural properties, whether it's in rural Baltimore County, Harford County, Howard County, there are neighborhoods and areas that are not tied into the city water and sewer system. So you have your own system on site, on the property. You have a well for your water, and you have a septic system for your septic system and waste. It is incredibly important to get these systems tested when you buy a property because you need to know, number one, the well water potable, meaning is it healthy? Are there bacteria in it? Are there problems with it? You need to know the yield amount, so you need to make sure that the well is pumping enough to be able to run water in your home or to run a shower in your home. So having your wells tested is vital, and your sewer system the same. You want to make sure that there are no leaks, no cracks, no problems with the sewer system, the septic system. So these are separate inspections that are done by an environmental company to make sure that all is in working order. Hi, my name is Persia. If you're new to my channel, welcome. You have come to the right place for all there is to know about living, working, thriving, and playing in the Baltimore metro region. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and to tap the bell for notifications so that you can be alerted whenever there is new content to the channel. I am a local real estate agent here in Maryland, and every day I get calls, texts, and emails from people just like you who are thinking about making a move, whether it's buying or selling in the state of Maryland, and I absolutely love it. So whether you're thinking about moving in the next 9 days or 90 days, please make sure to reach out to me and to my team. You can call us, text us, email us. You can set up a video chat with us. It would be our absolute pleasure to help you make the move of buying or selling, or both, in the state of Maryland. Okay, so you have all of these possible inspections that might be ones that are, you're interested in getting, but the big question is, how much do all of these things cost? So the first one we mentioned, structural and mechanical inspections. Generally in the Baltimore metro area, they're gonna cost anywhere between $450 to $550. It really depends on the size of the property, what you are having inspected, if you have any ancillary buildings like sheds and things like that. But I would say, in my experience, for the majority of my clients, they're between that $450 and $550 range. For the sewer scope, where they either go through the sewer line or remove the toilet in order to check to make sure that the sewer lines are clear, is about $250. So that's been my experience with the cost of that one. Radon inspections are generally $150. Wood destroying insect inspections can be anywhere between $75 on the low end. I've seen as high as $125 depending on the company that's doing the job. Chimney inspections can be anywhere between $200 and $300. And well and septic inspections can be right around $250 each. One other inspection that I wanted to throw in there is a roof inspection, and sometimes roof inspections can be really important in case the inspector kind of sees deterioration of the roof, whether that's an architectural shingle, whether it is slate, which is really popular in some neighborhoods in Baltimore. So roof inspections can be an additional inspection that you might want to have as well, and those can be around $200 as well, just to get somebody up on the roof to take a look at it, to take photos, to give you a report, and to let you know what's going on with it. Okay. Okay, another question we want to dive into is what happens with the home inspection if you're buying an as-is property? If you're purchasing a property as is, you still absolutely have the right to have a home inspection. However, you also have the right to walk away if the results of the home inspection are unsatisfactory to you. So essentially, an as-is home inspection is for your information only, and it's still super important because you want to know what you're taking on, what you're getting yourself into, the things that you might have to budget for when the home becomes yours to make sure that you are able to address them in the future. Now, what happens if you're not buying an as-is property? How are home inspections negotiated? After the home inspection, you receive the report probably by the next business day. So it's great to know that you don't have to sort of memorize everything the inspector says. They will send you a very detailed report that gives you everything that was deemed defective, and you can sort of see for yourself what is most important to you to have the seller address. Once you have thoroughly reviewed the inspection report and you have discussed your concerns with your real estate agent will complete a document which is called a property inspections notice. We call it PIN for short, which is basically a response to the seller from the home inspection. And so in that report, in that PIN, you will itemize all of the items that were deemed unsatisfactory by you that you would like to have the seller address. You may either ask them to fix all of these items prior to settlement, right? So the seller would be able to choose their own contractors and service providers to do the repairs that you have asked and to make sure that those are done, completed, and that invoices are kept for them for prior to closing, right? So that you can let the buyer know that they have happened and provide them invoices of the service providers who did that work. Or you have the option to ask for a concession or seller paid closing cost so that you bring less money to the table in closing cost, which means that you have more cash to spend on repairs. One of the reasons that you might prefer a concession over the seller completing repairs is if you feel very strongly about wanting to pick the service provider who does the work, wanting to vet them, all of that kind of stuff. In that case, if you don't trust the seller to do it, you might want to just ask for a concession so that after settlement, you can use that extra cash that you didn't have to bring to closing to find the service providers that are best for you, that you are able to kind of select so that they can do the work after settlement when the home is yours. Now, it's also important to know that even if the sale is not an as-is sale, you still have the ability as the buyer to walk away for any reason during that home inspection contingency period. So let's say that, it's not an as-is sale, you fall in love with the house, but during the course of the home inspection, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that there was so much going on with this house. It's overwhelming and I don't want to do that anymore. That's okay. As long as you decide to terminate during that contingency period, you're able to walk away. You would get your earnest money deposit back and start your search over and find a different house that you love. Now, the process for negotiating repairs is a back and forth. It's a negotiation. So there are opportunities for the buyer to say what they want, for the seller to respond, for the buyer to respond back, for the seller to respond back. So there is a little bit of a ping pong ball moment where you guys are going back and forth to find a solution that's gonna work best for either party. Once buyers and sellers have come to an agreement to find, a solution that works out for both parties, whether that's making repairs, whether that's a concession, whether that's a little bit of a mix of both, then that's agreed upon on that PIN document, the property inspections notice. Both buyers and sellers, they sign and it becomes a legally binding part of the contract and we're ready to go. The repairs either need to happen before settlement, and usually it's requested that they are done by licensed and bonded service providers, that invoices are kept by the seller so that they can provide proof that these repairs were done, and those are handed over to the buyers at settlement. Or if it's a concession, there's a separate addendum that is signed and completed where both parties are agreeing to the amount that has been agreed upon, and then those funds are transferred over to the buyer as part of their closing cost assistance at settlement. A lot of this has been informational for both buyers and sellers, but I will say that I do want a special shout out in this section to the sellers, because a lot of times when we're first going into the listing process, you're not really thinking about negotiations, you're more thinking about the price that you want, what your net is gonna be, and all of that. But I would make sure that as a seller, you understand that these negotiations are also going to be something that cuts into your bottom line and that are going to be a cost for you potentially. So it is very, very rare that, there is the perfect house that has no repairs and that, it's not gonna cost you a thing. That's rare. And usually only I've seen, super small repairs or them not asking for anything if it's a relatively new house. In Baltimore, like I said, a lot of the houses are older, and so there's always going to be something to come up. So as a seller, I really recommend that you get into the headspace of understanding that this is a negotiation. They're going to bring up things that you might either, have to shell out the cash up front for some of these repairs to get done, and that's obviously going to kind of eat into your profits, or be prepared to provide them with a credit, which again is going to cut into your bottom line. So it is a cost of selling your home, and something that I just want to make sure you're thinking about at the outset, so that when you get the property inspections notice back from a buyer, you're not looking at it like, what? I don't want to fix all of this. I don't want to blah, blah, blah. If you are thinking of selling your home as is because you don't want to have to go through the negotiation process, I have a video on my channel, we will link it up here, which is all about selling as is and the pros and cons of doing that. It's definitely an option. It definitely has its own upsides and downsides, so definitely check that out. But if you're not selling as is, just keep in mind that these repair negotiations can cut into your bottom line and cost you some money either on the front end or the back end. Okay, the final and most important question is, should you ever skip a home inspection? And in this crazy market where we have such low inventory, we have higher demand, and where interest rates are about to drop, so there will be more buyers in the pool, making it more competitive, we have seen some buyers choose to waive inspections, meaning that they are purchasing this house without having an inspection whatsoever. So it happens. I had a listing, it had 20 offers on it, and the offer that won did not have an inspection at all. They just bought the house trusting that they would figure it out and be able to afford the things that were wrong with it. Is this something that I recommend to my clients? No. Absolutely not. I would never recommend that. It is going to be your choice if you choose to go without a home inspection. It's never going to be something that I recommend. I think that it is super important to have a home inspection, to know what you're getting yourself into, to know the problems, to have the ability to negotiate repairs, to budget for things that you're needing in the future to improve upon. All of that is so important. So I would never recommend going without a home inspection. If you choose to do that to be more competitive, to have a more enticing offer to the seller, I understand, but I would never recommend it. Well, there you have it, home inspections revealed. I hope that you got a lot out of this video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe, and that you are sort of thinking about all of the ins and outs of the buying process and which inspections you really need for the process of buying your own home. If you're a seller, I hope that this video really helps shine some light on things that you need to think about to get your home ready to sell and for the negotiation process of selling your home. Again, if you're thinking of buying, selling, doing them both at the same time, make sure to reach out to me and to my team. We would be thrilled to help you. You can call us, text us, email us. We can set up a video chat. We would love to help you make that move. Thank you again for tuning into this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.